All right, so my friends, welcome to the March of the Machine complete set review. Every single card, constructed, limited, both sides of all cards, all sideways cards. It's just so many cards. But we're going over blue. We did white. You missed it. Watch it on YouTube. And we're going to go over all the cards, do our awards. We got 10 new brews coming up. Unfortunately, later than I would like because the early access event is going to be during Command Fest, which sucks. Bronze Mythic coming up. Just follow me and everything and hit all the buttons. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the stuff. All right, let's get in here. Going right away with Artistic Refusal. 6 mana instant Convoke. Choose one or both. Counter target spell. Draw 2, discard a card. 6 mana counter spell, huh? Obviously, you could do both here, but Sublime Epiphany, this is not. You know, obviously not playable constructed right off the bat. But in limited, counter spells in limited are kind of hard setup anyway, because you really got to keep kind of like doing your own thing. And then a 6 mana counter spell is like, woo! That is a lot. You know, draw 2, discard a card is great. This feels like a card that'd be okay and sealed. Because like, you know, games are slower. You just want to have this this spot later in the game where you can kind of counter this thing and draw 2, discard a land, sure. But having a draw on a conditional counter spell, this card just sucks. I'm sorry. Don't put this card in your deck. Assimilate Essence.
We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
2 mana for an instant. Counter target creature or battle spell. Not sure what the flavor is there. Unless your controller pays 4. If they do, you incubate 2. So kind of a cool card. Similar to Essence Scatter kind of effect. And then if they are able to pay 4, which is a lot, honestly, then you get a 2/2, which is fine. You know, it's a decent, backup plan. I don't think you're playing this card for the 2/2 as much as you're playing it for the Essence Scatter. And getting the 2/2 is kind of like a, okay effective aside. Scatter Ray has seen some play in the mono blue deck in Standard. So I think this card will see play in Standard as far as the mono blue deck goes. And then in Limited, this card's okay. Just be aware of it. I don't think it's great, but it's definitely fine. Just your usual kind of limited mediocre counterspell. Astral Wingspan. 5 mana for an enchantment or a Convoke. Enchant creature. When it ETBs, draw a card. Creature gets +2/+2 and flying. Pretty good draft card, honestly. Convoke's kind of nice here as far as just like getting a little discount on it. Drawing a card is phenomenal on this card because it replaces itself, which is very important, so you don't get blown out. And then +2/+2 and flying is also a good way to win a game as well. So solid draft card. I wouldn't be like slamming this card or anything, but I think this card's pretty good. I do think you need to be very, very careful with this card because you cannot risk your opponent killing the creature in response or you get destroyed. But play it safely, resolve it, get in for a good chunk of damage, draw a card. Good draft card. It's also splashable too, which is kind of nice. Like pretty easy cost. Change the equation. 2 mana for an instant. Choose one. Counter target spell, mana value 2 or less, or counter target red or green spell, mana value 6 or less. So the color hosers in this set are like some sort of inefficient, not quite good enough card, and then a mode that's really, really good against the colors. This is obviously a phenomenal kind of flash freeze kind of card for sideboards against red-green decks, for sure. And then the front side it's okay. Counter target spell, mana value 2 or less will have targets in most constructed decks, which is fine. The fact that this card can like counter Atraxa is pretty sweet. I'm sorry, can't counter Atraxa. Sorry, my bad. Can't talk. 6 or less. If it could counter Atraxa, that'd be like a fine card to me. Like, I think countering Atraxa is so important in some of the decks, but it can't counter Atraxa, so that's not good. Just a sideboard card. It's fine. It's no Aether Gust, I agree, but it's definitely just a fine card that we'll see some play constructed. And then in Limited, I'd sideboard this in Limited. I would not main deck this card. I don't think the Prohibit effect is good enough. Chromost Seed Shark.
It's a trap!
This one's a little weird. 3 mana for a 2/4 flyer is certainly fine. That's definitely not a bad rate at all. What if you cast a non-creature spell, incubate X, where X is the spell's mana value? So we play this thing. Next turn we play at 2 mana spell. We get an incubate 2 token. And of course, incubate is the mechanic where you get a token with X plus and plus counters on it, and you can pay 2 to make it a creature. The problem with this card is what deck ever wants this card? Most spell slinger kind of decks want to play as many cheap cards as possible, and this card doesn't play well with cheap cards because you only get like 1/1 incubator tokens. It plays better more expensive cards, but then if you're playing like a control deck of more expensive cards, why do you want this random 2/4 in your deck? Haughty Jin is, if you're playing a 3 mana creature in your control deck or your spell heavy like big spell deck, you're playing Haughty Jin. You're not playing Chrome Host Seed Shark. So There has direct better competition in the same format. And then it, I don't really know what other deck would want this card. It just, I don't know. Yeah, it's cool with Delve spells, in mana value and so on and so forth. But reality is, you still got to pay for incubate mana value thing too. I don't know. It's just a 2/5. It is cool with Convoke. That's definitely a super cool. I did not consider that effect of the card, so it is very good with Convoke. And the Convoke cards have high mana values also, so good catch there. But aside from Convoke-y stuff, I think this card, it just doesn't play. It isn't going to play as well as it reads. Obviously, a phenomenal limited card, like slam dunk limited card. But all in all, I think this card is a little unexciting, and we'll see very little play in Constructed. Complete the circuit. 6 mana instant Convoke. You may cast sorcery spells this turn as though they had flash. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell of this turn, copy that spell twice. You may choose new target for the copies. The hell is this? So it's a fork effect that costs 6, and a card that gives your sorceries flash, but it costs 6, and we're this is like, I guess, your commander card. I guess I don't even know. You get to copy things twice, sure. Is this an AI generated card? It does feel like that. Just a really, really weird card. This card feels like at a cheaper cost, it facilitates some sort of stupid combo. It's like way too good. So they just made it cost $1 million. Just make it cost $1 million. It's not going to be good. And then if you want to do the thing, spend $1 million mana for it, sure. So a commander card for sure. I would not play this card in any serious constructed deck or in a draft deck. Corruption of Tawashi. 4 mana for enchantment. Again, it's one of his for each color. It's an enchantment that ETBs and incubates and does something for Phyrexians. This ETBs incubates 4. Whenever a permanent you control transforms or a permanent enters the battlefield under your control transformed, you may draw a card. Do this once a turn. This card's kind of sweet. So you play this thing. It's very, very clunky. You play it. Doesn't do anything the immediate turn you cast it. That's pretty bad, I guess. And then you pay 2 mana to incubate 4, and you draw a card. And then the blue-green mechanic is all about transforming and drawing cards. Just about transforming and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But this card is really expensive. 5 mana up front for nothing is definitely, it's just not good. Yeah, sorry. I had dreams of drawing cards but it just doesn't really do enough. I think in limited this card is like okay, but for the most part it's way too clunky to do anything in most draft decks. Disturbing Conversion. 2 mana for an instant. A flash enchant creature. When it ETBs, each player mills 2. And then enchanted creature gets -X/-0, where X is the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. This card's got a gas, honestly. I don't know how much milling's gonna matter in limited. There is I think a mill mechanic in blue-black, but this card's not bad, right? As flash, it's kind of a removal spell. It's kind of a combat trick. I think this card could see fringe play constructed because if you want like a removal spell that mills you, if you're buying like a self-mill kind of thing, but also want to play a removal spell, this card like could do that maybe too. But card seems pretty good. Seems fine. Fringe constructed card, and then draft card, it's reasonable. It's not incredible because you just turn the creature into a wall, but it's certainly reasonable, for sure. Afar's Dispersal, 2 mana for an instant. The spell costs 2 less to cast if targeted an attacking creature. This is Unsummon Surveil 2. Unsummon's not very good limited. It is very good against combat tricks, defensively. You block, they play a trick, and you bounce it for 1. And Surveiling 2 is certainly fine, but I think this card's pretty iffy. 3 mana for a bounce spell is pretty bad. Bounce spells just aren't great in general. It does kill incubate tokens, which is kind of cool, but even then, like, it's just not a really particularly great rate. So, not really excited about this one. It's obviously fringe playable and limited, but Expedition Lookout is a 2 mana 2/3 defender. As long as an opponent has 8 or more cards in graveyard, it can attack as though it's a net defender and can't be blocked. The can't be blocked part's pretty sweet. So this is a 2/3 unblockable a little later in the game. We see this kind of card a lot in limited. Obviously, as we just saw, there are mill effects in the format. If you're doing the mill thing, this card seems reasonable. Blocks pretty well early, and then can win the game late. It's fine. It seems okay. Nothing super exciting, but fun. Eyes of Gataxis. 3 mana for a sorcery. Incubate 3, draw a card. This card's kind of sweet. So we have a spell here. Trigger your like spells matter stuff. It's effectively 5 mana 3/3 draw card, which is good but not great. But you can split it up, And then it also has synergy with all your incubate stuff. So there are, the white common that flips things for free. Things that have effects as far as when you incubate or transform. Again, the blue-green mechanic is based around transforming stuff, getting benefits, so that's kind of cool as well. So I think this card is going to be pretty good. I don't think it's quite on the Bombin Common level, but I think this card is going to be very, very solid. It's going to be a very important part of the format. Very solid draft card. Very Mastermind. Yatta! This is Yuta Takahashi's World Championship card, which is super cool. 2 mana for a 2/1 flying flash, so already pretty solid. Whenever an opponent draws their second card, each turn you draw a card, which is a very, very potent effect, honestly. And then 4 mana for each player draws a card. So you draw 2, they draw 1. Pretty good, honestly. The question is what deck wants this card. Definitely good at control mirrors for sure. You play it on the end step or whatever. It's an attacker, and then you draw cards off them too. I think this card is pretty powerful. The question is what deck wants this card. It is a rogue, it's a fairy, which is both kind of relevant. But I do think this card is going to struggle to find a home. But yeah, definitely a cool card. A lot of power in the card too. Great draft card, obviously. Just like a 2/1 flyer for 2 with a lot of upside. But constructed, I don't know. I'm not sure where it goes. It could definitely find a home. The power level is definitely there, but a hard card to place. Furtive Analyst. Demand for a 1/4 Vigilance. Pay 2, draw a card, discard a card. That's fine. It's like a fine draft card. If you're playing a defensive draft deck, seems reasonable. Honestly, blocks reasonably well. Filters lands in the late game. Can poke in for a few points. It's kind of fillery, but it's a fine draft card. Halo Charge Scab. 5 mana for a 4/4. When it ETBs, each player mills 2. Then you may put an instant sorcery or battle card from your graveyard on top of your library. We see this effect a lot in blue. If you have a lot of good spells in your deck and you're playing, like a removal heavy deck, you have a good bomb, instant or sorcery. The last format had the Blue Sun Zenith or whatever that stole stuff. And if you had that card in your deck, you wanted to play the card like this, that put it back on top and keep casting it over and over again. But a Thor level common, some applications, but not super exciting and limited. Jin Gataxis. No title, just Jin Gataxis. 5 mana for a 5/5 ward 2, which is okay. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, mana value 3 or greater, draw a card, which is fine, but obviously 3 or greater is a lot. 4 mana to exile this and flip it over and transform it. Activate only sorcery speed, and only if you have 7 or more cards in hand, which is a lot. That's a lot of cards to have in hand, so very, very hard to flip. Flips into the Great Synthesis. Chapter 1, draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no max hand size, so you just draw a stupid amount of cards. Chapter 2 is return all non-Phyrexians into their hands. Chapter 3 is you may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. And then exile this. This card's kind of stinky. A lot of win more stuff happening here. We have a 5/5 for 5, which is not super exciting. You can draw a card or two. Very, very hard to flip. And then when you do flip it, you just get a bunch more of what you already have, which is cards in hand. And then you get to bounce some stuff next turn, which is fine. And then you get Omniscience, but at that point, you have 1,000 cards here. Have you won the game already? So feels like a real win more card to me. The front side's not very exciting as far as a 5/5 with Ward. Not a very good constructed card. Not going to see any play, really. In limited, this card's just good. It's a 5/5, Ward 2 with possibility to draw cards. Just a good limited card. But a constructed, not very exciting. Kind of a stinker, honestly. Not really impressed with that one. Meeting of the Minds. 4 mana for a 2/2. For 2/2. Oh, man, I can't even freaking talk. 4 mana for an instant. Draw 2. Convoke. Card's cool, honestly. Definitely, if you're playing a lot of the token stuff in red, white, red, blue. Red, blue has a bunch of token stuff in it. And then with Convoking being a main mechanic, fine draft card. Constructed, I highly doubt it. But for limited, this card's reasonable. Moment of Truth. 2 mana for an instant. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. 1 goes to hand, 1 goes to graveyard, 1 goes to the bottom. This card's pretty good. This is Telling Time, which is an uncommon back in the day. But the card will go to your graveyard. Actually. Is this exactly Telling Time? Maybe it is, actually. But if you're looking for an impulse effect, and most importantly, you care about the graveyard, this card's pretty sweet. If you're actively looking to put cards into your graveyard, no, Telling Time was top bottom, right? Sorry. So this is better than Telling Time, which was a card that saw a little bit of play. It's whatever. You're playing combo deck, looking to put a card in your graveyard. This does that. Okay, it's not bad. It's not bad. Constructed card. It's honestly more of a constructed card than a limited card, probably. Though unlimited is kind of fine, too, honestly. So, it is what it is. Anticipate with upside. Negate. We all know what Negate does. Oculus Whelp. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer. As long as you control a transform permanent, this has, when this dies, draw a card. So, if you have a transform permanent in play, this is a phenomenal card. 3/2 flyer, but draws a card when it dies is excellent. But you have to have that. So, again, the blue-green mechanics based around transforming stuff. But this card's fine. Could be very good in the right draft deck. But if you're not having a ton of transform stuff... Omen Hawker. What is this? We got a sleeper card here. This is a very, very odd Magic card. 1 mana for a 1/1. Tap to add a colorless and a blue, but only to activate abilities. That's a lot of mana. For 1 mana for a mana creature, to add 2 mana for abilities, that's pretty sweet, honestly. Now, where does this card go exactly? I don't know. Full disclosure. But I think this card could see play in a lot of different formats, especially in older formats too, because there's just a 1 mana dork is really, really good. You know, like that's pretty great. In this set, you can use it for your incubate cards, which is super cool. You can pay for clues of this card, which is really sweet. And they're just like, you know, a bajillion abilities on a bajillion different cards that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But that's good. 1 mana creature in blue seems great, honestly. Card seems super sweet. Like this card a lot. Sleeper card. Very, very sneaky little card, too. You could easily just gloss over this card, look at the spoiler, but card's good. Oracle Tragedy. 2 mana for a 1/3, but ETBs. Choose one. Sorry, ETBs or dies. Choose one. Loot or shuffle 4 cards from mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard into your library. I mean, honestly, ETB loot's not the worst. We have better versions of this constructed, though. There's like the blue-black card that's like a 2/3 if it does this with upside. So, constructed, not really. There's better options, and the effect isn't particularly good. In limited, it's good. It's fine. Obviously, shuffling your best cards back is like, you know, mildly relevant in long games. Looting is, you know, loot away land is fine. If there's graveyard stuff happening in your deck, cool. But like, all in all, this card just seems okay. Sure. Fine. Preening Champion, close to Bombin Common. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer is not great. And when you add on a 1/1 token to that, it's awesome. Especially in the Convoke set and the Convoke colors. Card's awesome. Great, great draft common. Very close to Bombin Common. But our next card is the actual Bombin Common. Protocol Knight. Is that... Do I see a Bergstrider?
Wow.
Is that Bergstrider? Because I freaking love Bergstrider. 4 mana for a 3/4. Human Knight. ETB. Tap a creature an opponent controls. If you have another Knight, it puts a stun counter on it. That's really good. If you're an aggro deck and you curve out 2-drop, 3-drop Knight, this thing, tap your thing, freeze it, attack, have a 3/4, that is awesome. This is a phenomenal draft card. Obviously, you need to be the Knight deck to play this card, but the sizing here is huge. Card's great. Super good draft card. I cannot wait to cast Protocol Knight in limited. This card's great. Cyber Cryptomancer. 2 mana for a 0/1 flash, backup 1, hexproof. Very, very weird card. This is like the usual 2 mana hexproof trick, but it's just like on a creature with backup. So the fact that it gives the counter is pretty cool too. And then you just have this 0/1 in play with hexproof at like, you know, I guess you can convoke things with. That being said, you know, it's just a little weird trick. It is also a pump spell, so like you can just like win a combat with it too. But the body it's leaving behind, it's not worthless, but it's not that valuable unless you're convoking super, super heavily. It does have hexproof on it itself too, so like you just could be like some weird like end step hexproof untap start boggling kind of thing. So it's definitely a very weird, interesting card. But it's kind of cool. As a 1/1, this card would be busted, I think. It'd be insanely good. But yeah, definitely kind of a cool card. Definitely a draft card you'll see. A draft card to be aware of. You know, if you're playing up into blue deck and they attack their 2/2 into your 2/2, stop for 1 second and think about it. But kind of a cool draft card. Constructed. I could see, honestly, hexproof weirder things have happened in Constructed, but, you know. See and double. 4 mana for an instant. Since this spell can't be copied. What? Can't be copied. Choose one. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, you may choose both. You can copy target spell. You may choose a new target for the copy. Note that copying a permanent, you just get the permanent as a token. Or you can create a token that's a copy of target creature. So we have this weird clone effect, which is kind of cool, honestly. You could like copy their Invoke Despair and like hit them back with it, which is kind of cool. You can clone a whatever creature in play, which is kind of cool. Being an instant is sweet, and then later in the game you might be able to do this twice. This card's kind of cool, honestly. I don't know what deck wants this card as a 4-mana instant, but the power level is certainly reasonable. In limited, this card's great, but in constructed, I could see an outside shot for this card. It's pretty cool, honestly. I think it's pretty kind of cool. Stasis Field, 2 mana for an enchantment. Enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 0/2. Defender, loses all abilities.
They have a warrant for your arrest. You're going to jail.
Basically arrest, but obviously they can block once with it. But as far as blue kill spells go, this is pretty good. Honestly, not too shabby and limited. Temporal Cleansing, 4 mana for a sorcery. Convoke. Owner of target non-land permanent puts it on into their library, second from the top or on the bottom. As a sorcery, this card's pretty unexciting. I think as an instant, this card's pretty dope. As a sorcery, this is just okay. If you're desperate for a removal spell, you can play it, but I'm not very excited about it. But it's a limited card. Thunderhead Squadron, 6 mana for a 3/4 flyer with Convoke. Card's pretty cool, honestly. I believe Conclave Aeronauts was the old Convoke flyer from Ravnica. This card compares favorably, and obviously Convoke is the mechanic in blue. Card's pretty good. I like it. You know, definitely want to have a lot of tokens in my deck to play this card, but I think it's a fine draft common. Not super exciting, but fun. Tidal Terror. This is your blue land cycler, 6 mana for a 5/6. Whenever it attacks, you may tap 2 other creatures you control. If you do, can't be blocked. Honestly, pretty good. A 5/6 for 6 is like, reasonable enough to just play and block with, so it affects the board pretty strong when you cast it. And the board is stalled, you can just get it for 5 unblockable. A lot of, crappy tokens floating around, so like the cost to make this unblockable shouldn't be that bad later in the game. And it's mostly relevant on a stalled board, so it's fine. It's a fine draft common. Transcendent Message. Blue, 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 X. Convoke, draw X. I don't know about this card. Blue, 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 X is a lot. So 5 mana to draw 1, 6 mana to draw 2, 7 mana to draw 3. Obviously, you're convoking here, so you're not spending all the mana on it. You have some creatures for it too, but like, how many creatures are you going to have? And then if you have a lot of creatures, you need to draw cards. It's kind of like a weird card. I think if you're like tokening out like crazy, this card's pretty good. One card to watch for is definitely Third Path Iconoclast in a new format. With all these Convoke cards, Iconoclast should be really, really good. And I think if the Convoke cards are going to be good and constructed, Iconoclast will be at the heart of it. So maybe some sort of Iconoclast deck could play this card as like a top-end card draw. It's an instant, which is kind of cool, but I don't know. And then in limited, this card seems great. Board stall, play some stuff, end step draw. At a sorcery speed, this would be terrible, but in limited, I think this is a great card. It's pretty cool. So, Wicked Slumber. We got a Wicked Slumber here. 4 mana for an instant, Convoke. Tap 2 creatures, put a stun counter on either of them, then put a stun counter on either of them. So basically, you just get 2 stun counters to distribute as you want. That's kind of interesting. This is a really good aggro card. In limited, these kind of cards are great. Blinding Beam, tap your blockers and stuff. The blue-white Knight deck was looking pretty good in limited, and this card seems like a great card for it. And then Convoking, it's kind of cool also, honestly, because you can like, turn 5, say you play a 2-drop, Convoke, and then cast this. That's a good tempo play also. So Convoke's a good tempo mechanic. This is a good tempo card. Therefore, this is a good draft card. Xeric Strobe Knight. The mana for a 2/2 flying vigilance, so pretty reasonable. Tap it to create a Knight token with vigilance. Activate only if you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. That's doable, honestly. Flying vigilance for 2/2 for 3 is okay. And if you ever get 1 token off this, that's pretty sweet. And casting 2 spells shouldn't be that hard either. So it's like a fine draft card. That's cool. I like it. Good Convoke too. Obviously the vigilance thing. It's kind of cool. The blue-white Knight tokens. Blue-white is the Knight mechanic for the blue-white decks, but they have vigilance. So for the Convoke decks in blue, they're also good, which is kind of cool, but pretty sweet. Zephyr Singer. Best in show. I'm not sure about this one, honestly. The blue cards are all pretty weird, but this card's got a lot going on for a pretty low cost. Blue, blue, 2. for a 3/4 flying vigilance with Convoke, and when it ETBs, you put a flying counter on each creature that convoked it. So this is your Venerated Loxodon. We saw the kind of white-looking Venerated Loxodon. That card was whatever. This is your Venerated Loxodon of this set. And this card's cheap and big. Play creature, play 2 creatures. Next turn, play creature and play this. All your things have flying as a 3/4 flying vigilance. This card's dope. This card's really, really good. It is not a knight or a soldier, which is kind of important as far as stuff like that goes, but card's kind of gas. I'm not gonna lie. The rate here is kind of off the charts, and Convoke's a very good mechanic. And a 3/4 flying vigilance is just a very, very well-sized creature also. I'm all about this card. I think this card's great. Busto and limited, obviously. But in constructed, card I think has a decent chance also. For Convoke, you can tap everything you want. If you have 4 copies of Merfolk of the Pearl Trident in play, you can tap all 4 of them and play this for free. So what makes this card really, really good is if you can go like, creature, creature, and then you go creature, creature, tap out, then tap all 4 creatures and cast this. That's awesome. That's really, really good. So a lot of power in this card. Best in show. Slam dunk limited card too. Not even close. Zafarian Shapecraft, 2 mana for an instant. Creature has base power and toughness, +4/+1 end of turn, draw a card. This card was very close to Bombin Common for me. Card's really, really good. This is a cantrip pump spell for 2, which is excellent. And this is a set with a lot of +1/+1 counters on it. So don't forget that the +1/+1 counters stack on top of the base power and toughness. So if you have a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it and you play this on it, it'll be a 5/4, not a 4/3. That'll win almost any combat. And whenever you win a combat and then draw a card, that's an amazing exchange in limited. Super, super good. I think this is an excellent, excellent draft card. I actually forgot what the Bombin Common was for. Oh, it was the Knight, the Bergstrider. This card might actually be better than that card. I don't know. It's obviously more flexible than the Bergstrider is, but slam dunk draft card. Very, very good. Incubate tokens are 0/0s with counters on them. Yeah, card's great. Super, super good. The Secret Bombin Common in limited, real, real good. Constructed, probably not, but, Captive Weird. 1 mana for a 1/3. Now we get to the Phyrexian Transform cards. 1 the Defender for 1. Just, okay. 3 mana and a red Phyrexian, transform it into a completed Conjurer, which is a 3/3. And when you transform it into this, you exile top card of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you may play that card. This card's dope. It's a 3/3 that can draw a card for effectively 4-5-ish mana. That's great. Super good draft card. Uncommon. Just really, really good limited card. Not much more to say. Order of the Mirror. 2 mana for a 2/1 human knight. Transform it for 3 and then a white Phyrexian. And we get a Order of the Alablaster Host, which is a 3/3. And it's got flanking. For all of my boomers out there, flanking is really freaking good. Very, very hard to block this card basically ever. And it's also just a 2/1 for 2 with upside. It's also a knight. Great draft common. Just good on all spots, honestly. It's 2-drop. If you trade it off on turn 3, whatever. And then if you have some spare mana, you get a really, really good creature as well. Excellent, excellent common. Great draft card. Rona, Herald of Invasion. 2 mana for a 1/3. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap this. Tap it to loot. So looters, I think, are a lot worse than they used to be. Because modern day Magic is so much about playing to the board and having infinite things to do with your mana. Back in the day, flooding was a huge concern, so looters were great and limited. Because you never wanted to flood. These days, you never run out of things to do. So, looters aren't as exciting, but still, obviously, a good card. You can spend 5 mana and a Phyrexian black and transform it into...
Good lord. Gigantic.
Rona Talarian Obliterator, which is a 5/5 trample. Whenever a source deals damage to Rona Obliterator, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you may put it in the battlefield. Otherwise, you may pay it for free. So, Phyrexian Obliterator asking that they don't want to ever get involved with it. The problem here is that, now you've spent, a bunch of mana on this card. It's 5 mana or 2 life or 6 mana. They can cast Cut Down and just kill it in response, which is kind of awful. I think this card's, okay, but I think this card, honestly, could have been a trap card, honestly. I think this actually would have been a pretty good trap card. It's just not very good on the front side. And then the back side will be good against some decks, but not even that good. And the blow potential is huge. So I think this card's just kind of eh. In limited, it's obviously great. It's a really good limited card because it's just, an obliterator. But I think in constructive, this card is very, very fringe. Unless you're really making good use of a looter effect. Otherwise, Not super exciting. Skyclave Airless, 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer, which is already good. 4 mana and then a Phyrexian red. Was it red? Sorry, green. I'm like really scrambled today. And it morphs into Skyclave Invader, which is a 2/4 flyer. When it transforms into this, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield. If you don't, put the card into your battlefield, put it into your hand. This card's phenomenal. It's just a phenomenal draft card. 2 and flyer for 2 is already above rate. It's already great. And then it flips over, and you just freaking draw a card. That's dope. That's awesome. Great limited card. That's all you gotta say. So, to recap, Best in Show, Zephyr Singer, which is our Best in Show. Omen Hawker is our sleeper card. Chrome Host Siege Shark is our trap card. And Protocol Knight is our Bombin Common. Blue. All wrapped up. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Black is coming up next. Don't forget, anything you miss of set review will be on the YouTube. Go check it out. That'll be up on Friday, which is tomorrow. And I love you all, all right? Bronze Mythic, 10 new brews, all sorts of crap coming. Command Fest, just everything. Go do stuff, all right? I love you all. Black's coming up.